In the rugged mountains of southern France, the brown bear is making a quiet comeback. Once nearly wiped out by hunting and habitat loss, these iconic animals had dwindled to just a few dozen by the mid-20th century. But thanks to determined conservation efforts led by the European Union, their numbers have slowly rebounded. Today, around 350 brown bears roam the remote slopes of regions like the Cevennes and the Pyrenees. For years, this recovery has been seen as a quiet success, proof that humans and large predators could share the same landscape without deadly conflict. Until recently, there had never been a fatal bear attack recorded in France. That long streak of peace, however, has just been broken. A recent incident has sparked national debate and raised tough questions about how far coexistence can go and what happens when a conservation success story takes a dangerous turn. The attack took place in the quiet village of Saint-Aurel, nestled deep in the Cevennes mountains of southern France. With fewer than 200 residents, most of them elderly, Saint-Aurel is a remote farming community where life moves at a slower pace. The village is surrounded by dense forests and rugged hills, just on the edge of the Cevennes National Park, an area known for having the highest concentration of brown bears in the country. Many locals live in isolated farmhouses, often kilometers apart, making daily life peaceful but also vulnerable. The forest, once seen as a symbol of tranquility and tradition, has become a source of growing unease. While bears have roamed the surrounding area for years, they've mostly stayed out of sight, and interactions with humans have been rare. That changed with the recent attack, sending shockwaves through this close-knit community. Residents are now facing a new reality. The wild isn't as distant as they once believed. The sense of security that once defined Saint-Aurel has been shaken, and questions are being raised about how prepared such rural areas are for the return of large predators. The victim was Étienne Morel, an 86-year-old man who had spent most of his life in the quiet hills of Saint-Aurel. He lived alone in a small wooden cabin tucked between the trees, not far from his granddaughter Camille and his loyal dog Hugo, a 14-year-old Labrador mix who rarely left his side. Étienne was known in the village as gentle and independent, still tending his small garden and taking daily walks despite his age. In early May, as an unusual heat wave swept through the region, nights became stiflingly warm. Like many locals without air conditioning, Étienne opened his windows at night to let in the cool mountain breeze. It was a simple habit, one he'd done countless times without concern. The night of the attack began like any other, quiet and still in the wooded hills of Saint-Aurel. But somewhere around midnight, a fully grown brown, bear likely a male, was wandering near the edge of the village. Drawn by an unfamiliar scent, possibly food or the presence of humans, the bear approached Étienne Morel's cabin. The window had been left open to ease the heat, and that simple detail may have been enough to attract the animal's attention. Hugo, Étienne's aging but loyal dog, was the first to sense the danger. According to investigators, he likely barked and ran toward the bear in an attempt to defend his owner. Startled and cornered, the bear reacted with instinctive aggression. It charged. In the chaos, Étienne was caught off guard. The bear overpowered him, pinning him down with its massive weight. The impact crushed several of his ribs and restricted his breathing. He was likely unconscious or dead within minutes. But the violence didn't stop there. The bear dragged Étienne's body into the forest, away from the cabin and out of sight. It was Camille, his granddaughter, who found Hugo the next morning limping, bloodied, and alone. A search party later discovered Étienne's remains over 100 meters from his home, partially hidden in dense underbrush. His body had been severely mutilated, with clear signs that parts had been consumed. Hugo, the loyal dog who had tried to protect Étienne, met a tragic end just hours after the attack. In the early morning darkness, driven by instinct and loyalty, the 14-year-old dog followed the scent trail of his missing owner. But as he neared the edge of the forest, the bear was still nearby. It spotted Hugo before he could retreat and struck with brutal force. The attack happened just meters from Camille's home. Awakened by desperate howls, Camille rushed to her window, only to witness a nightmare unfolding. Through the dim light, she saw the bear burst from the trees and lunge at Hugo. It all happened in seconds. Camille could do nothing but watch in horror as the animal killed her grandfather's dog right in front of her. By the time she reached the door, it was too late. At 6:45 a.m., still in shock and trembling with fear, Camille called emergency services. Rescue teams arrived swiftly and began searching the surrounding forest. Following a clear drag trail through the underbrush, they discovered scattered pieces of clothing. Deeper into the woods, under a pile of leaves and branches, they found Étienne's lifeless body badly mutilated and partially buried, likely by the bear trying to hide its kill. The discovery sent alarm bells through both local authorities and national wildlife agencies. This wasn't just an isolated encounter, it was a deadly escalation. To identify the bear responsible, officials took immediate action. Over the next 48 hours, 3 adult male bears found in the area were located and euthanized. Their DNA samples were collected and sent for testing to match with evidence from the scene. The attack sent shockwaves across France, marking the first fatal brown bear incident in the country's modern history. News of Étienne Morel's death and the killing of his dog Hugo dominated headlines, sparking fierce national debate. At the heart of the controversy is a difficult question. What now? Some residents and local officials are calling for all bears in the Cevennes region to be removed or even exterminated to protect rural communities. They argue that human lives must come first, especially in isolated areas with aging populations. Others, including conservationists, believe relocation is a better solution. They propose moving the bears to remote wilderness areas in Eastern Europe, where human contact would be minimal.